There are a couple programs on campus right now that are having a ton of success. Soccer and volleyball, they're doing really well. They got some big games actually coming up tonight with a special guest to break that down here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Next to me, if you're watching on YouTube, is Ray Cartwright. You can find him on Twitter or X, whatever you call that app and website, at Ray Cartwright. You might recognize him from the Lupton Drinking Club. He is one of the founding fathers there. We've had Jacob Sailors on the show before. Those guys do an outstanding job covering baseball. They're really plugged in with the program. And Ray, you also cover soccer and volleyball really closely, along with other sports at TCU. Freelance, kind of doing your thing there, making sure everybody's informed. What was it about those sports that kind of clicked for you when you started getting on the beat and getting some information that way?
You know, it's kind of funny. I kind of joke. So I just kind of stumbled into it, right? I was, we at Lupton Drinking Club, we had signed a deal with Frogs Today to record out of their studios. And over the summer, I'd approached them and I was like, hey, do y'all have anyone to cover soccer? Because I was pretty interested in sports journalism and all that. And so they're like, no, you can do it. And so I just started going out there and, learning on the fly, being around the program. And then that kind of grew into volleyball. I've actually got a funny story of how I started really covering the volleyball team. So I was at a football game, TCU football. And I was sitting behind this lovely couple, and we were kind of chit-chatting, and I was telling them, oh, yeah, I just started working for Frogs Today doing all this. And they asked, well, do you cover volleyball? And I was like, no, they're not that great of a program. This was in 2022. Jason Williams just taken over and all that. And I was like, well, you should really come out. I think this is going to be a really exciting team. And it turns out it was assistant coach Morgan Thomas and her husband. It was kind of funny how that ball got rolling. But, being around that program and just watching that sport more and more, I've really just fallen in love with the sport. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Both teams have big games tonight. I guess for people that have never been in, both sports are really cool live, but watching college volleyball, like in the arena a few times, it really is amazing, like how athletic they are. Just, it's constant action. It's really fast. Can you describe just what a fun sport it is if you're actually there in the live setting and getting to watch it up close and personal?
Yeah. So if you're there in the arena, you kind of think of women's, girls volleyball, right? Like a lot of girls have played volleyball, middle school, high school, and you're just kind of trying to get it over the net. You're happy when someone gets it over the net and all that. You look at these athletes, and they're flying through the air.
Right.
Sometimes their serves can get up to 45, 50 miles an hour. The spikes are incredibly powerful, and it's just nonstop action, right? In a nice, tidy, about 2 hours or so, depending on how many sets the match goes. But I think the nonstop action, kind of keeps you really entertained.
Another sport with nonstop action, especially this team, TCU Soccer. Eric Bell done a really good job putting this program together. They've perennially been a tournament team. I was getting plugged into that Colorado game, Ray, because I knew it was, a ranked matchup, and I actually got home from my daughter's soccer game, which is a little bit different level of athleticism. But I sat down, and they were like 20 minutes in. I thought it was 4-1. I was like, wow, what the heck's going on? I was super happy, and they ended up winning 6-1. But what was so explosive about the offense that particular afternoon, and what kind of worked well for them getting the ball in the net?
So TCU's always been kind of a ball-dominant team. And, to start that game, actually, you're kind of like, okay, they allow a goal in the first 2 minutes of the match, and you're like, okay, Matt, game on, right?
Yeah.
But TCU's a ball-dominant team, and they've actually kind of changed their playing style where they're playing forward, they're playing up more, So they're trying to control possession more on the attacking end. And in this game, they were just able to finish their chances. That's the big thing. Of course, Castaigne gets the penalty kick. I mean, just goes off, has a career day, overall 4 goals. But the big thing was being able to finish chances. You look at matches throughout the season, they've found a lot of crossbars and posts. They're putting shots on target. It just, sometimes you get bad puck luck. But not in the case of this game.
No, they were having a lot of good luck getting the ball in the net. So tonight, that was a big matchup. And then they turn around and they play West Virginia. That'll be on ESPN Plus. It's also there in Fort Worth if you want to stop by and make sure you get to the stadium. But what are some of the keys to this game? And I mean, Ray, this is another huge game in the standings as we talk about kind of the big contenders in the Big 12.
Yeah, so right now, West Virginia tied for first in the Big 12 with Texas Tech. TCU just right behind them. I think they're 2 points off of the lead. But, I mean, the key for TCU in this game tonight is to play your game. Play your game, play your style, and you should get a good result, right? West Virginia, while, yes, great that they're leading the conference right now, their conference schedules are really backloaded. Okay. In fact, this kicks off a very tough stretch for the Mountaineers where they're playing consecutively. They play TCU, Colorado, Texas Tech. The 3 big horses, so you're really going to see what this Mountaineers team really is here in the next week and a half or so. But, the Frogs go out there and play their game. I think they should be able to handle West Virginia. I mean, you look at their schedule, they haven't. You find me a good win on it. I don't think they have a top 40 RPI win all season. The 2 big matches that they've played this year are Clemson and Penn State, and they've both lost. They lost both of those matches. And so, for the Frogs, you just go out and keep doing what you're doing, and you should be able to get a good result.
You mentioned Seven Chastain. She had a big game the other night. I guess for fans who might be tuning in for the first time, who are some names to know, some players to watch for the Frogs as they hit the field on Thursday?
So definitely Seven Chastain, right? I think I said it before the year started. I thought that she was going to be Big 12 Forward of the Year. Okay. But for the Frogs, the straw that stirs the drink is midfielder Oli Pena. Coach Bell constantly raves about her. One of the most underrated midfielders in the entire Big 12. She's the one that gets things going. Is a great facilitator, getting the ball to the outside, either finding Bella Diorio or Seven Chastain, right? Bella Diorio is another one, sophomore. I mean, she's really come on really strong this year. I mean, just taken a huge leap from her freshman to sophomore season. I mean, she looks so much faster than she did last year. It's incredible, her speed. And she's the one that handles most of the corner kick opportunities or, set pieces for TCU. And her services have just been spectacular, especially these last couple of weeks.
So you talked about the volleyball team earlier, and it really has been amazing, the turnaround. I mean, they were struggling before Jason Williams got here. You've been around that program. You talked about running into the assistant coach at the football game. From your view, how is the coaching staff really flipped the script so quickly and gotten a team that is NCAA tournament bound, the last few years and has been a force in the Big 12?
Hey, so you think about it, before Williams got here to campus, the last 3 years, I think TCU had won 24 games overall the last 3 seasons. So far through 2.5 seasons with Williams, they've won 45. They've made back-to-back NCAA tournaments, advancing to the round of 32 each of those 2 years. In fact, his first year in 2022, he ended Washington's 21-year first round winning streak. They had made the tournament, the last 21 years, and Coach Williams ended that long streak. Sorry, what was the rest of the question? Sorry, I got sidetracked.
Oh no, that's cool. It's just basically how they pulled this off, how they've kind of turned this program on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, the big key there in 2022, you've already had some good pieces in place, right? You think of Audrey Knowles and Julia Adams, both, top 10 kills list all time here at TCU. But adding his daughter, Callie Williams, to the mix there. And what's kind of funny about that is she didn't join the team until August. So to be able to come in, just a couple of weeks before the season starts and develop a chemistry and really kind of settle things down for the Frogs and really got that ball rolling. And then I think it's just the system that Jason runs. He brought over from Baylor. He likes to say they play frog fast. It's a very high tempo offense. For those that don't know volleyball, it's just they're trying to set and go, as quick as they can. That's as awesome. Well as I can explain it.
Yeah, kind of like tempo, kind of like hurry up in that sport as well. So Melanie Parra, I guess for people that don't follow the sport and maybe aren't as plugged in with the team, can you describe how good she is and how good she's been, Ray? I mean, she's been a dominant force for this group.
She's probably, if she would have been here all 4 years, she's a transfer from Texas, right? Came in here. Last year was her first year here, a little limited towards the end of the season with injuries, but fought through it. And then this year, of course, everyone knows she's taken off. But one of the greatest players, I would imagine, in TCU program history, up there with Jill Kramer, former TCU head coach, who was also an outstanding player for TCU in the 90s. I mean, you just look at some of her stats for the year, and it's absurd. Right?
Yeah.
You're halfway through the season right now. Utah kicks off the second half of the season. She's averaging a ridiculous 6.1 points per set, which would shatter the all-time record at TCU. She's got 280 kills. Her 5.28 kills per set would also, obliterate the TCU all-time record. She's got 323.5 points total on the year, which if you extrapolate that over a year would obliterate the record that she set last year for TCU. Wow. She's just an incredible athlete.
Yeah, for sure. She's special. So they dropped that game to Arizona State to open Big 12 play. I know Utah, I believe they're also 3-1 in the conference. Is there like a prohibitive favorite here, Ray? Is TCU kind of firmly in the mix? I know they're coming off that huge win against Baylor, who's been a force in this league for a while.
Yeah, so you look at it, I kind of think of there's probably 4 teams that are in the mix for the Big 12 title right now. Of course, Arizona State. Arizona State's a really good team. And then you have Kansas, that's number 8 in the nation right now. They're also really good. TCU will play Kansas here in a couple of weeks on the road. It's going to be a very tough match. And then who TCU plays on Saturday, BYU. Another really good match, along with, of course, TCU's in the mix.
And one of the cool things about all these sports now is just about every game's on ESPN Plus. So, I mean, you can fire it up and watch it. And also you can go to the games themselves. But Ray, everybody, please, subscribe to the Lupton Drinking Club, the YouTube channel. They're out there on all the podcast platforms as well. And is the best way to find your work, Ray, just to follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, at Ray Cartwright, I'm usually watching every single game, just kind of live tweeting them. I go out to practices and get interviews, and I'll post little short clips of that either on Twitter or Instagram. I think my Instagram handle is like ray.cartwright24, something like that. You can find me there. Posted a nice clip about Melanie just yesterday. I was out at practice and talking to her. And then I've got some more stuff that I'll be posting tomorrow, with Jason Williams and then Cecily Bramscheiber.
And that clip with Melanie, are you bilingual, Ray? I mean, was she just talking in Spanish and you got it translated?
No. So, kind of a peek behind the curtains, right? With Melanie, right? Of course, being from Mexico,
right?
Her, natural language is Spanish. She's way more comfortable doing
Sure.
interviews
Yeah.
in Spanish than she is English. Although I will say her English she's more like 10 times more confident to me this season than last season, which is awesome. And just kind of see her come out of her shell.
Yeah.
But yesterday at practice, she actually did an interview with Univision.
Oh, okay.
And then
Cool.
I was kind of wrapping up things with Coach Williams. And she comes up to me and she was like, "You want to do an interview?" And I was like, "Sure, I would love to. When am I ever not going to turn down an interview?" She was like, "But I'm only doing it in Spanish." She was on the ball, feeling comfortable. And I was like, "Awesome. So I'm going to ask them, and then you can respond." And then, luckily with technology and the way it can translate or whatever, like the clip, I posted it to Instagram and it's got it auto, translated already on there. And so then, of course, I'll ask some friends, "Hey, how would you say this in Spanish?" And that way, whenever I post, it kind of goes along with it.
That's really cool. And that's just covering the team and building those relationships. So perfect time for everybody to jump on the bandwagon. We're getting in the stretch of conference play here, TCU Soccer, TCU Volleyball. Ray, thank you so much, man, for joining the show. We appreciate it.
Hey, Stephen, thanks for having me.
We'll come back and talk some hoops next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Time to tell you about one of our great sponsors. We appreciate Gametime being part of the action here. Gametime is the place to get tickets on the secondary market. Check it out today. Whatever you need tickets to, it's available there on Gametime. Download the app. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase, because that's Locked On College. $20 off your first purchase. It's very simple to navigate. The tickets go right to your phone on the app, so you don't have to say, "Oh, man, did it go to my wallet? Did it go to my email?" Nope, it just stays right there on the app. It's all one place. Gametime. Download the app today. Best place to get tickets on the secondary market. Well, shout out to Ray Cartwright for coming on the show. So today's episode, I figure we're in a bye week. This is a perfect time to kind of look at all the other sports going on across campus. We'll close out the week on Friday with some more football talk. We'll start looking ahead to Utah a little bit. And then, of course, on game week, we'll go full throttle with Utah coverage. But I'm going to keep an eye on TCU soccer and volleyball the rest of the year. I sort of always do. It's just tough in the middle of football season to, get a whole segment about it. But these teams are doing really well. Eric Bell has been great for years, and Jason Williams has turned this thing around really quickly. I do want to talk about men's and women's hoops before we go. So TCU men's basketball. For all the complaints about Jamie Dixon, this is not a murderer's row of a non-conference schedule, but I will say a couple matchups in here that are better than most years. They get Michigan on the road on November 15th. That's a Friday night in Ann Arbor. Their first three games, Florida A&M, Florida Gulf Coast, and Texas State, all at home in Shalimar Arena. And then they play Xavier and Colorado State or Washington in Palm Springs. A tournament there. Xavier on December 5th as part of the Big 12 Big East Challenge. And on December 8th, Vanderbilt in Dickies Arena. So some power conference games there, an opportunity to see this team and what they got. Once again, a lot of transfers leading the charge. The conference schedule, man, it's a bear, right? Like it always is, but they start the conference schedule at Arizona, Kansas State at home, at Houston, BYU at home, Utah at home, at Baylor, Kansas at home, at UCF, at Tech, Colorado at home, West Virginia at home, at Iowa State, Oklahoma State at home, at Arizona State, Tech at home, at Cincy, at West Virginia, UCF, Baylor, and then at Colorado to close out the year. So once again, just a murderer's row of the schedule. And this is really a completely different team than we saw last year. Micah Robinson, the true freshman, the forward, he'll be getting some minutes, it looks like. Brennan Wenzel from Wyoming, the senior guard, who's 6'8", is a combo guard, can handle the ball, can also shoot it a little bit. Frankie Collins will be your point guard, transfer from Arizona State. Noah Reynolds also will be handling the ball a lot, transfer from Green Bay. Reynolds is known as a shooter. Jamie said in his preseason press conference, he feels like this team can shoot better than teams he's had in the past. One thing about this group, not a lot of size. They're going to really depend on Ernest Uday for big-time minutes. And if he gets into foul trouble, they're probably going to have to go small at times to try to make up for that. Trezarian White, who transferred in from UNC Wilmington, he is sort of your Emmanuel Miller replacement. Forward, does a little bit of everything, great rebounder, good in the mid-range game. They've got some talented freshmen. I've heard Robinson's a guy who's going to get some minutes early on. And then some young dudes like Isaiah Manning and Jace Posey, who were redshirt freshmen, who rode the bench last year but had the opportunity to play a lot in practice. So I like how this team is built. The issue, as always, is it's a very talented league that you're playing in, and Jamie's teams have struggled to find a foothold and win consistently and get over 500. But this looks like a group that has the ins and outs of a tournament team. One thing I have heard this offseason from different people that have been at practice, the ball handling and the control at point guard is a lot better, which that was a huge issue. I remember the Texas game. After that initial onslaught, things slowed down. A lot of it revolved around teams were just blitzing that pick and roll, and TCU's guards could not handle it. Avery Anderson struggled. Everybody struggled to have the vision to get out of those situations and move the ball well. So that's got to get cleaned up. But exciting times for TCU men's basketball. Also excited about TCU women's basketball. We'll talk about that here in a moment. It's Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team. We do it here every day. Don't forget to check out FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com. $5 bet. One $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus bets. Major League Baseball playoffs, college football, the NFL, NBA coming soon. All of it's available at FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. Step up, get in on the action today. FanDuel, it's where the game starts. Official betting partner of the NFL and a proud sponsor of the Locked On Network. Year 2 of the Mark Campbell era, and it's going to be fun, man. You got a lot of ladies that have come over in the transfer portal and are ready to rock and roll. The biggest name, Haley Van Lith, who had a great career at Louisville, scoring the basketball, transferred to LSU, was put more in a true point guard role. That wasn't a great fit for her. So Mark Campbell in this kind of pace and space, pick and roll, spread pick and roll offense. He says he's going to allow her to do what she's most comfortable with, which is score the rock, use that mid-range game, get to the bucket, shoot from deep. So we should see a more assertive Haley Van Lith on offense this upcoming season, and that'll be fun to see. Some other transfers that came in, Donovan Hunter, the sophomore, spent last year at Oregon State and was their starting point guard for the majority of the year. Maddie Shear, the guard from Kentucky, who's played some big minutes there over the last few years. As far as your returners, Sedona Prince, who when she was healthy last season with this team's best player, Madison Connor, sharpshooter, really was able to fill it up early in the season. And then as the year went on, she also dealt with some injuries, and teams kind of honed in on, okay, we got to find a way to shut her down. The schedule is loaded, man. They play NC State in non-conference. They play Notre Dame in the Cayman Islands Classic. They play South Carolina in Dickies Arena on December 8th. That's all before Big 12 play starts. Your conference schedule kicks off with Colorado at home, Cincinnati at home, at Kansas, at Tech, UCF, Utah, at Oklahoma State, Baylor, at Iowa State, at Kansas State, Tech, BYU, at Arizona State, West Virginia, Houston, and then finishing out the schedule at Baylor. Texas and Oklahoma, which have had a stronghold on this league in women's hoops for a long time, they are leaving, but you add Arizona, who has been very good. Baylor has been very good for a long time. Texas Tech seemed to improve last year. A lot of teams looking to assert themselves as maybe the new dominant force in this league, and TCU women's basketball seems just as talented as a lot of those schools. So should be fun to watch year 2 of the Mark Campbell era. We'll be back tomorrow. It's Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Have a good Thursday, everybody.